How's it going, everybody? My name is Jesse. Welcome back to Male Nurse Mentor. We're continuing forward with this series on correctional nursing. I used to be a correctional nurse. I worked in both the county jail and the prison, and I would probably still be there if it wasn't for getting a more recent job promotion, where now I get to work from home. But I started as a new grad in corrections, and that's all I've ever known. So if it wasn't for correctional nursing, maybe I would have gone into psych nursing. If both of those are some interest of yours, just know that they both kind of exist in the same place. And corrections is its own thing. So if you're looking for something different from the hospital, corrections is probably a good fit. But with that being said, friends, today I'm going to be telling you guys about the 5 best tips that I have for people going into corrections. And these are tips that I've kind of gathered from my own experience. A lot of you guys also reach out to me, which I love. And if you guys want to continue to reach out to me, just know I'm here as a resource. Honestly, reach out to me on Instagram, send me a DM, and we can message on there. I've even set up some video calls with people who are really interested, and it's just a one quick punch of information that I can give you guys. But I've gathered a lot of the questions I've been asked over time, like I said, with some of my own experience and what I think people should know going into it, and I've compiled them just into 5 tips here. And I'll be telling you them in today's video. Number 1, friends, I got this book here, and anybody who's reached out, you guys already know, this is my big tip here. It's Games Criminals Play. It looks like it is by Bud Allen and Diana Boston, or Bosta. So it's about this thick. I highly recommend, getting this book and reading it. When I was a new grad going into corrections, I was trying to do my own research. What are the tips that I need to know to get into correctional nursing? As I was reading through forums, the most helpful ones are actually on the side of the officers. All the officers were recommending for any staff going into that environment to read this book. And that's what I did. I grabbed this book, and honestly, it helped me a lot. The main point of the book is being on the lookout for manipulation and how to also kind of look out for yourself in that environment. Which brings me to, again, this whole tip number 1. The biggest thing that I see for people going into corrections is the environment shift. A lot of you guys aren't used to seeing what you're gonna see behind the walls, and it's often this environment alone that takes people out. Because nursing is nursing, even as a new grad. You're gonna feel uncomfortable as a new nurse. The nursing part, it doesn't really change, right? Care is being provided. Healthcare services are there and available. What I see a lot of people get taken out by when they go into this environment is literally the environment itself. Is going behind the walls, carrying around keys, seeing everything is locked down, interacting with inmates, seeing inmates get handcuffed and taken down and fight each other and try to honestly kill each other. Like, these are all the things that take people out. So reading this book here gives you kind of a clear image before you actually go into corrections of what to expect, and hopefully it gives you like a leg up. That's how I felt going into it. When I was kind of working in the environment, it helped me understand the things I was seeing, and okay, that can lead to manipulation. This is something I should look out for. Oh, I did expect that. I read that in the book, and the book kind of helps you a lot with getting adjusted to the environment itself, because the environment is what I've noticed takes most people out. So this book is my first tip, and it pretty much just tells you what to expect going in. So my tip number 2, friends, I put observe a lot at the beginning. Pick the brains of the current nurses inside working. You'll find your place and confidence over time. The little nuances matter. Your reputation is very important inside, so try not to be perceived incorrectly. So I know there's a lot in that, but these nurses, ask them questions, pick their brains. What you're gonna notice is that there's a lot of senior nurses in there. There's nurses that have been in corrections for a long time, especially if it's on the side of the government. A lot of people are working towards pensions, so once they're in, they stay in. And those are the people you wanna connect with, especially as a newer nurse going in. Pick the brains, take all the advice that they're saying and watch and shadow them. Just really pay attention to what they're saying. That information is invaluable. If you're gonna try to go in and try to do this all on your own, it's not gonna go well for you. You really don't wanna make mistakes around inmates. It's fine because there's officers, so nothing bad will really ever happen to you. But if you have a career trajectory, like if you wanna stay in that side of nursing for a long time, people are gonna remember you. So that's why I say, make sure how people perceive you is the correct way, right, that you want to be perceived. And you'll see what I mean as you observe. Because as you're observing your environment, you're gonna see the staff that isn't really speaking to inmates correctly, and you could tell how the inmates are reacting to it. And you really want to always make sure you're safe in that environment. The nurses that are senior in there, they're gonna let you know, hey, This is how I take vitals. This is how I handle this situation. This is what I look for in this situation, and really pick their brains. There's so many scenarios, I can't really tell you the specific ones here. It'd take me a really long time, but if you have any specific questions about how I would handle something, reach out to me individually and I can let you know how I would react to it. Because towards the end, that was the advice I was giving to the newer nurses coming into that environment as well. So 1 is read the book, 2 is observe your environment. Both of these kind of go hand in hand with the situational environment that you're in, and honestly both of those are very key pieces going into this setting, is your environment and the population that you're working with. All of that is very important. Those are the 2 pieces I've seen most often take people out, is this hesitation and these bad experiences of working with inmates, which could have been avoided, you know, if you would have handled the situation differently, and if you would have known about it, you know, on how to handle it differently. So that's why ask your senior nurses, and then also your environment, right? Being aware of the things that can get you in trouble, being aware of those things, that way you don't get in trouble. So this next tip, I put be respectful, treat inmates like any human, and don't be afraid to apologize if you mess up or get out of character yourself. So it's interesting, right? To be able to say, hey, you know, you gotta apologize to an inmate, but sometimes you will find yourself and you will have to do that, even though that's the tough thing to do, right? You could brush it off and be like, oh, you know, I did this, but you know, I'm not gonna apologize to an inmate. Respect is very important in there. So if there's something that came off as not respectful enough or disrespectful especially, make sure that you actually speak to that inmate and get back on some good grounds with them. Now, if they're trying to disrespect you first, you know, of course, you don't have to go out of your way to try to be even more respectful and then apologize to someone who isn't gonna hear it or listen to it. But what you're gonna see over time is that these inmates are human. All they really wanna do is be respected. Respect is all they really have left in that environment. They lost their freedom, they don't get to choose the food they wanna eat, you know, they're not on their own time. There's a lot of things going against them. The one thing that they have left is their name and the respect to their name, and you know, everything else is built within that prison. So respect goes a long way. That's why I'm saying always be respectful. But if at any point in time you catch yourself and you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that, go and apologize, and trust me, that will go a long way. That inmate will remember, and that inmate will speak to other inmates about you, and a lot of people will understand, hey, you're a true character, you're someone of value, you're someone they respect, and that goes a long way inside a prison setting or a county jail. Doing your job, being professional is one thing, and that's the one thing we're supposed to do, but sometimes we slip as well. We're human. Maybe we act out of character. Maybe we say something or kind of are off with our energy that day, and they feel it, right? You're a little bit like disrespectful in the moment, right? Something slips. Make sure you mend that. Make sure you tend to that, and then you move on. That's it. You keep it very surface level, but just be respectful, be respectful, be respectful. It goes a very long way, and it takes a target off your back, just to be quite blunt. You don't want to walk in there with the target on your back as being the disrespectful nurse. You want to be someone who's always professional. An inmate can come to you with a health issue and they trust you, right, that you're going to take care of them medically. Same thing as out here. Got my dryer. I'm washing my comforter right now and that machine was going wild, so I had to go pause it. But anyways, let's continue. So here we are now at number 4, right? I wrote, get very comfortable with your assessment skills and decision making. This takes time. This will help you though, out a lot due to the level of autonomy. So when you think of correctional nursing, think of a lot of autonomy. For some people, they really love that autonomy. They love working with protocols. And if an inmate presents this way, oh, you know, I did my assessment, these are my findings on my assessment, oh, this is this on the protocol. So I get to treat that inmate with the protocol and never even having to discuss with the doctor what the care plan is, right? Some people really enjoy that. Honestly, I enjoyed that. At the very beginning as a new grad nurse in corrections, it was quite overwhelming though. If I had to paint a picture of the learning curve, it's like this. As a new grad going into corrections, just like that. But I survived, and because of that, I know other people can survive too. But my whole point to this is make sure your assessment skills are sharp. It's the most valuable thing you're gonna carry in there as a nurse, is being able to, when an inmate comes to you with a complaint, ask them the right questions, look for the right key findings, right? Look at his vital signs and not be worried about a certain level if he's presenting a certain way, right? Like oftentimes a new nurse may read a blood pressure that's elevated and freak out, right? But then maybe you take it again, or maybe you speak to them for a bit, maybe you change the cuff. These are all things you have to do, right? This is what's known as critically thinking. You have to think through the situation and then ultimately make a decision. If you do get stuck though, a tip is you can talk to another nurse who's around, right? Another correctional nurse, or you can always call the doctor, let them know what they're presenting like and put it on the doctor to make a decision for you. But over time, you're gonna see that the better your assessment skills are, the easier your job is gonna be, because inmates are gonna fake a lot. They're gonna fake chest pains, they're gonna fake stomach pains, they're gonna fake seizures. I've seen it all. I have seen it all. They're gonna fake everything. They're gonna play you a fool, just to put it blunt. And they can get you once, they can get you twice, but after that, you're gonna start to get embarrassed if they continue to get you, and it's gonna kind of hit your ego and your own comfortability of being a nurse in that environment, right? At the very beginning, I was getting played a lot, but over time I learned. Other nurses were giving me tips. I asked questions to other nurses. I saw the same thing over and over again by these inmates, and it was my assessment skills that ultimately gave me the confidence to be in that environment, be even a better nurse, and be able to do my job. Work on your assessment skills. It's okay if they're not very sharp at the beginning. Just by being in that environment, you're gonna be doing head to toes all the time. You're going to be doing focused assessments all the time. So you will get better just by being in that environment. And you'll be able to call out bluff just by doing your assessment. And what do you do when you call out the bluff? Well, it depends. It depends. You can treat the condition, you could consult with the doctor. There's different routes to take, right? Because ultimately the patient is expressing something to you. If it's a flat out lie and you know it is and you called it out, maybe you put the patient on monitoring for a little bit, right? Just to see how it plays out. But there's different routes to take. But ultimately, this is another tip that I have for you, trying to increase your assessment skills. And this is my tip number 5, friends. Find a good method to decompress and transition home. That environment takes a toll. Don't take it home with you. You will see a side of humanity that 99% of people will never see. Many see what a prison sentence looks like on TV. You will eventually see a human locked up, and that will change you. And being in that environment, of course, and everything that comes with it will change you. So my biggest tip is when you go into that environment, it's gonna be a culture shock. That's why the first 2 tips here were just trying to get you used to the environment, because the environment is what I've noticed takes most people out. If you get past the environment, get good at your assessment skills, are respectful to inmates, you're doing what you're supposed to. Now you gotta make sure you take care of yourself, right? Decompress at the end of your shift on your drive home. If you have a long drive home, utilize that time. Before you open that door and come in and see your partner or your family, take a moment, check in with yourself, sit with yourself. What did I see today? How's it affecting me? Because you may think you're good, and you may, right? You may feel honestly you're good. I've done that plenty of times. Hey, I'm good. That didn't affect me. That didn't bother me. But it comes out in ways that you don't expect. Maybe something's missing in the fridge and you're a little irritated because of it, right? Maybe the control isn't working, you're a little irritated. Your partner says something, but like, hey, I can't even believe that, like, we're talking about this, right? You can't even imagine what I've seen today. Make sure you take care of yourself is my whole point to this tip. Taking care of yourself is gonna allow you to have a long career in corrections. I can't stress this enough. I only noticed this even more so when I left. So when I was in it at the very beginning, I felt it. Over time, you get used to seeing the same thing over and over again. What most people would find shocking, you don't find shocking anymore. What people would react like crazy to, you're just like, oh yeah, like that's expected. And you kind of get numb to all of it. When I left corrections, I started to process everything that I've seen, that I've heard from inmates, that I've felt, and I realized then when I left how I felt when I was first starting, which was that all that stuff is abnormal and it's crazy to imagine. And it's true. You're gonna see what like 99% of humanity doesn't see. You're gonna see the dark side of humanity, that 1%, or however you wanna calculate it. That side that no one, like, people know it's happening, people know it exists, but you're actually living it, being in that environment, seeing it, and know that it's true, and you can see how it affects actual humans, right, which are the inmates. So my tip here is decompress, find like a ritual, find some type of routine on your way home before you get home, and speak to your family. Even if you're living on your own, just to check in with yourself. It's very important to do this. Trust me, remain human. That area, that environment, you're gonna experience it. It's just different. And it's okay, because it's a job and you get paid for it, and you're still providing a very good benefit to those people in there, which is a healthcare service that a lot of people aren't even bothering to provide to them. that's gonna be it, friends. Those are the 5 tips I have for you in today's video. If you have any specific questions, reach out to me on Instagram. Hit me with a follow, because if you don't, it's gonna end up in the spam messages. But hit me with a follow, then send me a DM, and I got you. I got you guys. Reach out anytime. I'm very reachable. And as always, friends, I'll probably make more videos of this series moving forward. I'll see when I make another one. I'm making them while I still remember, while it's all fresh in my mind. And I think it's valuable because a lot of this information isn't really being spoken about. I don't really see a lot of ex-correctional nurses or active correctional nurses speaking about it, especially on YouTube. So with that said, I will see you guys on the next video. And as always, take care.